So I founded my first company when I was at the age of 16. And it was an internet providing company. At that time, the ADSL technology was still not on. That BBC at that time was selling nowadays Telecom. And basically it started as a small business with 4 people and slowly grew into the biggest internet service providing company in my area. And at that time, the Bulgarian telecommunication company was just entering the market with the internet via ADSL and some of other competitors. And it was a really, really good time to exit. So we basically sold it to them and made some money. But we learned a lot. And the most important thing that we've learned was actually that we don't know enough. So we have to go and study. We were at the age of 60. My partners were at the age of 15. So I was the oldest one. And if you click on the things to see my slide, you will really help me. Beautiful. Okay. So it's gonna be a funny one. So then I continue basically and went to the University of Goteborg to study software engineering and management and to become a software engineer. On the second year, while studying, I founded my software company 158, which difficult to thank you. Okay. So I founded my startup company 158, which is a software company, and it slowly grew into a company of 55 offices across Europe and 2 in Australia. But then I was still hungry for knowledge, so I continued to study and went to the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow to study global innovation management. That's exactly what a software company does. It has multiple resources allocated in different places around the world doing innovation, because technology is all about innovation. And you have to manage that process when you have more than 50 employees, as in my case. And because I'm a serial entrepreneur and a startup evangelist, I'm not good at running companies. I'm good at creating them. So once the company was stable, I left it to my partner to manage it, and I took the path to my new challenge, which was Go Freight. And Go Freight is a startup that started in Australia. It's a logistic portal which basically tries to help all the people that want to move goods between point A and point B. And it worked really well. We succeeded raising $500,000 investment from private investors, and it's still running very well. Came back in Bulgaria on the 3rd of March last year and felt that I took enough from the world, so I wanted to give back. And me and my partners founded Beehive. And Beehive is a co-working space, but it's not only a co-working space, it's an ecosystem of people that work together, people like yourself that want to start a business, people like Maxim Behar or Svetlina or most of the people that you will see today on this stage that would like to help people like yourself that want to start a business. And we're hoping that this year we're going to turn it to actually investment fund or at least an incubator so we can provide the financial aspect. But that was enough about me, but actually it was a bit too much. I'm going to talk about something that is interesting you at the moment. And that's how to start a business while studying. What I've learned from all these businesses that I've started in my life is that whatever you do, it has to make you happy. And in order to make you happy, you have to understand a couple of things. And we'll start with learning about yourself. So what really makes you happy? What is the thing that you like to do? Do you like to deal with people? Is that your strength? Or is it your strength you like to do something craft with your hands? Or do you like to play piano? Or do you like to travel? What is the thing that you really, really like? That's what you have to do, because if your business is what you love to do, it's not going to be really for work. It's going to be pleasurable all your life, and you will never be bored of it. So then the next thing, after you identify what makes you happy, is to identify what are your skills, or what are the skills that you have to gain in order to do it. So then, you speak English or Spanish? Can you manage people? Can you play actually music instruments, or you just like to play with the piano? Or are you very good in persuading people to buy? Are you good in sales or marketing? So when you know what you want to do, and when you know what is your skill set, you can see if you can actually do what you want to do, or what you have to learn in order to do it. And then the next thing that you have to think about is the different career options. So when you merge those first two things, actually this is your job description. You can be a salesman, or you can be an entrepreneur, or anything that really will make you happy and help you with the skills. Okay? So, and again, your values, your personal values. I mean, you cannot open a shop that sells something that is against your values, against your moral values. So think about that one, make a big picture, and once you know your idea, how many of you already have an idea for business? Raise your hand, please. Okay, so quite a lot. Yeah. That's really pleasant to see. Okay. And then the next step, what? So what are you going to do with your life from now on? You can either pursue into a career, into the corporate, and start climbing the corporate ladder. That's okay, as far as it makes you happy. You can start an academic career. It's great to start a PhD, become associate professor, and give knowledge back to the people, create knowledge and give it to the people. I have a huge admiration for that academic people. And what I chose for myself, and what I saw that most of you chose for yourself by raising your hand, is to actually start a business. That's what we're going to talk today about. And of course, you can do nothing. But don't do that. That's not interesting. Okay, so now let's talk some really, really practical things. Do you have an idea? Yes, no. If you don't have an idea, that's fine. Join someone who has an idea. That's enough. Partnership is really, really cool. So if you have an idea, the next step is again to do this personal SWOT. To see what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and can you really execute that idea? Because idea is just 10% of every business. 40% is your background and your team members' background. Are you a lawyer? Are you a marketer? Are you a salesman? I mean, if I and some of you have the same idea and start today with the same idea, in 6 months it's going to be totally different, because my background is software engineering, so I'm going to create a masterpiece software behind it, and your background might be business and marketing. So you're going to have a great marketing, but poor technical aspect. Well, mine will be the opposite. And the market will decide who is the one who's going to succeed. So the idea is 10%, 40% is team background, and 50% is the actual execution, getting your heads dirty and start to do the job. Because lots of people just talk about business but never start doing it and executing it. Then the most practical thing is to list all the skills that you need. So we're talking about the third point here. Yes, if you're starting an online shop, so you need some kind of a WordPress, you have to have a credit card in order to do the purchases, you have to have a bank account, you have to have a computer, maybe you have to have a bit of cash in order to purchase the stuff that you're going to sell on the website. So list all the things that you need. And that is going to be basically the form of your home. That's going to give you an indication about your capital and the kind of people that you need to work with. And that brings us to the fourth point, partner or employee. A lot of the businesses in nowadays consist of technological aspect and in the marketing aspect. So those are the four things for most of the IT startups, especially mobile apps and everything on the web. So that means that this is something you cannot outsource. If you have the technical knowledge, your partner must have the marketing knowledge. And one advice from me, never ever do business with your family, friends, relatives, people around you. And it's very practical. I'm a very practical person, so I'm going to tell you why. Because if I do business with my classmates, our knowledge don't complement each other. Because we've studied the same thing, maybe technical or marketing, the same teachers, the same books, the same environment. So we are identically the same. Our knowledge set is the same. We don't complement each other. And that's a problem, because we're going to start arguing about the marketing aspect of our business because we both understand it. And you're going to say, oh, the teacher said this, or no, the teacher meant that. And nobody's going to be busy thinking about the technical aspect of the business. So that's why never but ever do business with family relatives. You got the point. And then we talk about partners or employees. So the core aspect of the business are your partners. And the employees is everything else that you can outsource of the business. So if you're actually going to run a website that sells shoes, you don't really have to get a technical person full-time in order to do your website, because once you set up and run some kind of Joomla, WordPress, or whatever, you don't really need that person. You need someone who understands social media, or whatever the marketing channels that you're going to use is going to be something in the marketing area. So that's something that can be outsourced. And then a business plan. Coming back to Bulgaria and seeing how Bulgarians are making business is really wild. Right? No one is really writing a business plan. Everything is on the back of an envelope or on the back of a napkin. And I have this great idea that I'm going to get these amazing sales and everything is going to be great. And I was like, do you have actually some projections? So a startup is really a lot about you have an idea and you're making assumptions, millions of assumptions, that I'm going to produce that much, that price, that my market is going to be that big, and they're going to buy that much, and so on and so forth. So you're making so many assumptions based on assumptions. You have to list all these assumptions somewhere and start validating, ticking the box, validate it. And that's the business plan. And there, I'm not telling about these boring old ways of doing business plan, like maybe 60 pages. I'm talking about business plan on one page. Just start with a business model canvas. Do one business model canvas, and that's going to be really enough to start with. But you have to validate all these assumptions in order to not get surprises later on. So I've mentioned just the business model canvas, and then marketing and strategy. It's surprising how people don't understand marketing, and they don't create a strategy for the sales and the marketing of the business. Everybody thinks that they're going to make this great website, it's going to come millions and zillions of people around the world, and they're going to earn money from advertising. Earning money from advertising sucks. You have to have sustainable competitive advantage. You have to have something to sustain your business. Okay? And the financial planning. When you make all these assumptions, what I talked earlier about, put some numbers around them and validate those numbers as well. Because based on those numbers, you're going to know exactly what are your sales, what are your cost of goods sales, what are your fixed and variable expenses, and then you're going to know your gross margin, profit, and EBIT, or at least some projection, and make it for 3 years ahead. So you know if this business is actually going to be stable, or it's going to be exponentially growing, or it's going to be something declining. So that's why you need the financial projections. Okay. Once you know all these financial projections and all these validation things are done, you actually can go and start hunting for money. Funding part. There are millions of ways, and I think I have a slide later about how to raise money, but you have to know the number. You have to know where you're going to spend every single cent of that money. Because nobody's going to give you money if you don't know where you're going to spend it and why and what you're going to gain from it. So you have to be well prepared about it. Who is your customer? It's very important to understand the difference between a buyer and a user. When you go to the supermarket with the kid and the kid is grabbing the first Kinder, I mean, there is a purpose why the Kinder Surprise toys are that low and they're close to the cash desk. Because the kid is going to take, who has the flour? The kid, because he's going to start screaming and crying like crazy and you have to buy the chocolate. But in other cases, if the kid wants a bike, the bikes are marketed. The bikes are marketed in a different way. They are marketed somewhere in the center, whereas on the level on the parents, it says that helps your kid because nowadays kids are involved with the computer, blah, blah, blah. Some kind of story that makes you feel guilty as a parent if you don't buy that bike. So that's why think about who is your buyer and who is your user. That's very important. And that's part of developing the whole strategy. Sustainable, competitive advantage. You have to make sure that nobody is going to come in 1 or 3 or 5 months after you with much bigger investment and copy your business and take it out of the market. You have to have something very difficult to be copied. And that can be your logistics, that can be your distribution, that can be your volume, that can be your price, that can be some blocking feature. I mean, if you think of software, that's the learning curve. If you build a software, I mean, everybody knows how to use. Facebook is difficult enough to use it. Everybody knows how to use it. There's a learning curve. We know how to change your program. We know how to swap stuff. We know how to do image changes and so on. If there is something new, if there is a new software that comes on the market, people will reject it because they simply don't know where to click to make it. If you think of how the social media evolves in the last years, basically all the social media is following what Facebook is doing, and regardless of how stupid they position buttons, they just move them on the same place because they want people to join easier their social media. So the learning curve, the volumes, if you can purchase in bigger volumes and you can guarantee yourself a price, that's another competitive advantage. If you think of Amazon, what makes Amazon more special than any other bookstore? The comments, people give review of the books, that's something that cannot be copied. I may sell better books on a lower price, but I don't have this database of reviews and comments and users that they've locked in their systems. If you think of Gillette, I mean, we all spend 10 level to buy the handle, and then we recharge it with a new laser blades for 2 or 5 level. And we don't want to change to some cheaper brand because we already have that expensive handle. So the switching cost is another thing that can be not competitive advantage for you. The logistics, think of Michael Dell. I mean, you're pretty young, all of you, but the computers used to be big boxes, and you buy them, and they've been produced in Taiwan or in China. And at the time when it was actually sent to be produced, in order to come to the technical markets in our country, it takes 3 months. And these 3 months was actually long enough to make this technology used in the computer obsolete. So you're installing the latest Windows operating system, it's working already slow. And if you wait 3 more months or 6 more months, it's already useless. So you have to start opening it and putting some more motherboard changes or some other kind of things inside in order to start performing again good. So Michael Dell, what he did is, I'm going to sell computers online, people will choose their parts, and it's going to take 1 month to be delivered. So his computers, when he started selling them, were actually 2 months more competitive than all other ones, because he set up a really, really good logistics system behind. If you think of Zara, Inditex, the fashion brand, then their competitive advantage is also logistics. So just think destructively. Think of some industry, think destructively in order how to make something better that can be a sustainable competitive advantage. And we can talk more about it over lunch. I can talk a lot about that. Let's take the last third point, and that's the exit strategy. There are different types of businesses. There are businesses that last just for a month, that you make them, and they will work only for a month. Most of you here probably have heard of the white and red markets that we all wear in March. That's a business, you know. You can make them, it's just 1 month for sale, that's it, once a year, once a month, 1 month every year. There are different types of businesses that are seasonal, depending on the summer or the winter, 6 months. There are businesses that you want to make and sell because they're creating a lot of problems for bigger companies, and you're going to buy it and shut it down. So that's another type of exit strategy. Or you may think of a business that is really something that you want to leave for your kids and grandkids. So that's an important part between partners. Whenever you have a partner, talk about the exit strategy from the beginning. Talk about how you want to exit, because that's becoming a big problem at some point. The company is going great, someone comes and says, I want to buy it for a couple of million, and another partner says, no, that's something that I want my kids to have. I cannot sell it. And then the problems become. So these are the things that you have to put in your shareholder agreement from the beginning. Shareholder agreement is this very lovely document that lists all the different cases and scenarios, what's going to happen in that company from its beginning to its end. So for example, if your partner is run over a car, his shares are not inherited by his wife and kids who doesn't know how the company operates. and basically will ruin it or sell it to someone else. But they will be offered first to the other shareholders to be bought, and they just get the money from it. So all these small things you have to think about in your shareholder agreement. And I know it's a lot to think from the beginning, but the more work you do from the beginning, the less you'll have to do at the end. Every entrepreneur has to take around 1,000 decisions every day. And each one of these decisions is very critical to your business. I see a raised hand over there. What is your question?
Could you please speak up a little bit, because we cannot hear you very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just move this thing here. Is it better?
Much better, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So now let's talk about some really, really practical businesses. There are a couple of niches that I found lately. And the first one is that, you know, all of us, at least in the area where I'm coming from Varna, we like to drink a lot of mojito in the summer. And this is a cocktail with mint leaves. It's very refreshing on the beach. It's just lovely to have it. In the winter, it's very cold. It's very windy in Varna, so we get sick very easily. So we have to drink a lot of mint tea in order to get better. But for both of these purposes are needed mint leaves. And these are not produced anywhere in our region. Maybe here they are, but in our region they're not produced. So we actually import mint leaves from Israel for 20 Bulgarian leva per kilo. And this is grass, you know. So that's a potential business that can be easily handled by anybody, and it has a huge market potential. I mean, all these bars and all these cafeterias are ready to buy straight on. If you think of a business, if you don't have an idea about business, just look at your skills. If you're really good at writing business plans, there are so many platforms out there like Elance, Freelance, and so on, where you can actually write business plans for other people. They can employ you to write their business plan, and that becomes a business. Yes, it's a lifestyle business from the beginning, but if you're good enough, it might become as a consultant long term. If you're good in writing projects, EU-funded projects and EU programs at the moment are very popular around the whole EU and Bulgaria. So if you're really good at writing projects, yes, start a business as a consultant, read the paperwork there, and start writing projects for other companies. That's also an idea for business for smart people like yourself who are part of this great university. Open an e-commerce website. Are you passionate about something? Shoes, accessories, chocolate, whatever. Yes, find the best supplier and start your online business. It's very easy and you blow it. If you're good in writing, if you're passionate about food and restaurants, and you like going to different places around the city or around the country, and you like to comment on the food that they serve and how they make it and so on, open a blog about it and join the affiliate programs of this restaurant. So for every customer, if you forward them to do delivery or online order or whatever, you get a small commission. So join their affiliate programs. It's strange, but for in Bulgaria, at least what I know, maybe at the current university is different, there is no degree for event management. Event management is a very big area in Bulgaria. I mean, to organize this conference, that's a huge event. It requires a lot of knowledge. It requires a lot of people to do it. Someone has to manage this whole process. And then there is no really teaching, no any university really teaching you about it. So if you're good in the details, if you can spot the little things, and if you're very organized, that's absolutely an opportunity to become an event manager. And we're not talking about conferences, but yeah, you know, rides, beds, all kind of events happening in people's lives. And yes, again, if you're good at playing piano or yoga, that's also a lifestyle business. I'll tell you a story now. I still have the time. A friend of mine, when I went to visit her in New York, she was just starting her catering business. Her mother gave her a small book with recipes from like 2-3 centuries old, and she was starting to make them, and people loved the food. So it really grew exponentially big, very, very fast. But she was working by herself, and she really couldn't manage to employ the people because the workforce there is extremely expensive. So I was like, Reiko, you're really good. I love your food, and your business has huge potential to grow. Why don't you do cooking classes? And she was like, but how that's exactly going to help? And I said, very easily. get 20 people, teach them how to do the food that you've been ordered to do for that catering event. They're going to do it for you for free. So they're going to learn how to do it. So they're going to pay you to teach them, and they're going to be your free workforce in order to provide the food. And that way it's going to help you. Because every entrepreneur has this little step being a lifestyle business and working with himself, and then getting the first or the second person. The work is just not, it's too much for one person, but not enough for two or three. So this little step has to be filled, that gap has to be filled somehow. And that was my suggestion for her. She actually did it. It worked really well, and her company now is growing. She has 40 people working for her in the downtown New York. And it's really great. And of course, develop apps for smartphones. I mean, everybody can have a great idea. I will give you also a suggestion. There was a working day on Saturday in Bulgaria when you work too much, when you have too many holidays, you have to work later on in the weekends. And everybody put their alarm Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. But what happens when you have to work on Saturday? The alarm does not ring. So if you have an app that basically can know all the public holidays and when you have to work them back, it can ring on the right time. But that's just a crazy idea. It's a problem that some of the person on the elevator I've met has. If too many people have it, that will become a business. And that's exactly how businesses are born. Think of something that is a problem for you. If that problem is a problem of 100,000 other people, then it's a business. And then you can actually solve this problem and start selling to these people. Okay. And here I have a couple of inspirational. So the cloth matching app. There were two girls that developed an app that basically you take pictures of all your clothes in the wardrobe, and based on the colors and on the forecast tomorrow, it tells you what to wear. Selling it for 99 cents on Apple Store and Google Play, and making latest what I heard, around 5,000 sales per month. So a great lifestyle business. Philips HUE color hubs. They're the smart light bulbs that basically change their color based on something. So there was this guy in UK who came to me and said, I have this great idea. I'm going to develop a reader for audiobooks. And imagine that you're reading, that the audiobook is now reading to you, and you're in a ship, and there are thunders, and then suddenly the lights in your home start changing, and it develops this thunder atmosphere, and then the next day everything is okay, and the sunshine is coming. So the day is becoming yellow, and I want to develop this thing. So make use of the technology, make something like that. Chocolate cuisine for kids. What about gambling with chocolate and earning chocolate? How cool is that? Or what about a chocolate book, a book that you read and then you can eat it later on? Imagine every chocolate has something that you read and you learn from it. Open air cinema in the park. Oh, here is let me tell you about my initiative. On the 23rd of April in Blagoevgrad, there's going to be actually a drive-in cinema. So you can come with your car and watch a movie. And you can read more about that at apokino.pg. Christmas market in your suburb or online pharmacy. Online pharmacy is something that is definitely very disruptive. At the moment, pharmaceutical business is really, really big. And everybody are opening more and more and more shops. But all these shops have to have employees, they have to pay a rent, they have to have things in stock, they're in the city center, so the rent is expensive. So they have huge overheads. If the legislation allows online sale of pharmaceutical products, of medicine, that's going to be amazingly disruptive.
Thank you for this presentation and for all the examples you gave us. It was really amazing, and now I hope to see many more questions on the board. But again, every beginning is a hard time, so I have to rely on you guys. Do you have questions first, or should I start with my stupid questions? Okay. We have one more there.
Do you think a partnership between three parties can, three persons can organize a business?
Sure, of course.
You don't think there could be conflicts between them?
As long as three or four people can organize business, for sure. As long as they have the core skill of the business. So they're not just there for, they have to be there for a reason.
Yeah, they have to share a common idea, or maybe something.
The idea, absolutely, but they have to share the core skills for the business. Every business has core skills that must be on board, and some other skills that can be outsourced. For example, HR. You don't have to have an HR manager to have a startup. You can outsource them. You can actually do it yourself. The technical, the marketing, or whatever the business-specific core skills are, has to be on board with that business. And one mistake that most of the Bulgarians do, what I see. Like, if we're 2 partners, it's going to be 50-50 company. If there are 3 partners, it's going to be 33.3%. Don't do that. I mean, life is not a balance, so why would you be? Ask how much money you're going to put in the business, how much time you're going to put in the business. Make the calculations, and that way allocate the shares of the company. There always must be one person who is having more than the others. And that's with one very simple purpose. Whenever there is a conflict, we have to decide between this or that. Someone has to have the power and the legal power to take one time, because no decision, a bad decision, is worse than no decision.
Thank you. And I'm so glad there are people who are curious about the same things. It was my question in the last presentation. Come on. How did you manage to strike a balance between private life at 16 and your business? And why did you decide to do it in the first place?
It started not as a business, it started really as a fun. So we were like, we had internet. I was solving a problem for myself. We had these dial-up connections where you have to buy this card, scratch card, and it has a number, and whenever like I was on the internet, my mom could not talk on the phone, so she was like, all the time, please stop this thing. And I was like, okay, what can you do? And that's why it started. It solved a problem. So your business has to solve a problem for yourself, and if it solves it for 100,000 people, it's actually a business. And the life balance, I mean, I was at the age of 16. I had a life, I guess. But I just love to work. I love to do startups. That's something that makes me happy. Entrepreneurs and managers of companies, every company has 4 stages. The growing stage, the startup stage, the growing stage, the platinum phase, and the declining phase. And for each of these different 4 stages of a company, you actually have to have a different executive director, or a different founder, or a different person who is running the whole thing. I'm good at the first stage, where I'm basically at the starting level. Once the things start growing and becoming stable, that's the boring part. This is something that the MBAs are doing, not the entrepreneurs.
Thank you. And what's more, as you said, you can both have fun and do a lifestyle business, right?
Yep.
So
absolutely.
you can combine it always. What inspires you to keep going, although you have achieved so many things? And the other one is, what do you think about doing work while you're doing business? And in this case, about internships, for example. Combining it with corporate work.
Basically, if you love what you do, it's not work for you. You wake up every morning at 6, full of power, thinking about it, and you're so passionate about it that everybody around you are passionate about what you do. So it's not work, it's really a pleasure, it's fun. And I said something earlier, don't make business with your friends, but make friends out of your business. So at some point when you start making your startup, you will see that all people around you that you used to work before, suddenly like, we don't have common ground to talk about common topics. But you have common ground to talk with other entrepreneurs and other people that are partners and your business partners. So basically at some point your life becomes different and it's becoming naturally part of it. So your life is your business and your business is your life.
And talking about common ground and people you share your ideas with, how do you deal with the trust issue? For example, how do you trust people to build business with if you don't trust friends and family? I mean, you obviously said that you can't do business with family. So who are the people you're looking for?
I like to do small projects with people in the area. So I know most of the leaders. When I go to events like this one, I see which are the ones that organize it and which are the ones staying behind, standing up. And I like to do some small project with these people. After I do a small project, I see where their strengths and their weaknesses are, and I see where I can position them in my life, either as an employee or as an intern in one of my companies, or as a partner in any future business.
Okay. And what do you think about the difference between business plan and business canvas? You mentioned both, right? They were one after the other. How would you rank them as important? And of course, how would you prefer to start? Where would you prefer to start?
I have another thing that I'm using. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to show it to you now, but it's called business plan on one page, and it basically tells you what are the goals of your business, what are the strategies, and for every strategy are right bullet points. What are the steps that you have to make? And these steps are so small tasks that actually can be allocated to people, and that's enough usually to do it. But I'm suggesting to start with business model canvas, because that gives you a nice overview of your business and to see if you have actually a gap in your business and in your overall strategy. And later on, when things crystallize in your head and everything is kind of clear, you can put it down into like 20 pages business plan. But writing from the beginning a business plan, when the things are so vague, you will not have the opportunity. You will have to rewrite it many times, which at some point becomes frustrating.
Thank you. And talking about your business, how did you come up with the exact idea about Beehive?
Beehive is it's a co-working space, but it's a non-for-profit organization, and the idea is that we would like to promote entrepreneurship to young people and people that don't know what to do. So basically, we wanted to take the people out from the fitnesses and from the pop-up clubs and bring it to some different environment, to something different. And it actually works. It's an ecosystem of designer group, finance group, marketing group, photographers group, developer group. Now we're trying to put investor. We brought a lot of foreign formats together. It's really something that, how I came up with the idea. Basically, I was feeling lonely in Varna. I didn't have the same-minded people when I came back from abroad. And I said, okay, so if there's nothing like that, I'm going to create it.
Absolutely right. That's how we should think. And what do you think about the communication, especially with investors? As you said, it's very important to find your partners and your teammates. But how do you convince an investor to invest in you?
So the investors like first how much money you need. Think about how much money you need, because once I made a very embarrassing thing. I was in Australia. I was pitching GoFreight, my logistic company, into a VC group of VCs, and I was presenting, and they were in love with the idea. They were like really like standing up, and they were listening, and they were like, "I'm going to invest in that." I was just seeing it in their eyes. And at the end of the presentation, they said, "How much money you need?" And I said, "I need $200,000." And they were like, "But we give only more than $2 million here." Because we don't have enough people to look after our investments. I mean, we have 40 people. If we give so small money, we don't have enough people to look after our investment. So think about how much money you need, the first thing. And go to an angel or raise your money or empty your credit card if it's a small amount. If not, go to a VC. There are also accelerators. Just see where exactly you position as money, and then look at the portfolio of the people that you're planning to approach. If you're planning to do something in the health tech industry, don't go to someone who is financing agricultural startups. Go to someone who is financing something similar in your area, because they know the domain and they can actually help you not only with the money, but with contacts as well.
It's very interesting, but it sounds as a very time-consuming job. So, I mean, the whole thing around your business and around your connections.
It takes 16 hours of your day for 3 years.
That's what I was about to ask. How do you deal with this time constraint? Personally and also professionally, how do you get sleep? Things like this.
I don't sleep much. So that's where I start. I wake up around 6:30 every morning, and I work usually around 12 to 12. Yep. It's not work, as I said. It's absolute pleasure because I love what I'm doing. So everything what comes on during the day is just amazing, and I love it. So it's not really work for me. Do a lot of sport. It's very important to do a lot of sport, to travel a lot, to meet friends whenever you can. And my friends are business partners, so it's just absolutely great because I'm doing business while I'm actually relaxing my mind. They give me advice. Find mentors. That's a very important thing, what I wanted to say earlier. Thank you for reminding me. A lot of the startups just think that they know everything. Find 5 or 10 mentors. Give them 1% each of your company. And these are the people that are, whenever you feel low, whenever you feel down, whenever the things are not going well, you can go and talk to them. And they're going to give you advice. They're going to help you out. They're going to open doors for you. And then that's going to help you out to stand up and continue. Because being an entrepreneur is really hard. It's very, very hard. You often don't have boyfriends or girlfriends. They just cannot stay.
I guess it's easy to get used to it when you start making these accomplishments. And before we finish, because our time ran out, I want to ask you, is there one last question from the audience? And to remind that from the next session on, it's very easy for us to read only this question on board. So please write them in the ask session, and don't expect us to pay much attention to the audience itself. But
Thanks.
it's very hard, I can't see you right now. So if there is a last question, okay, if there is a last question, please raise your hand. Who will be the lucky one? Nobody? Okay, that was good. Very clear.
Thank you very much for